I got to see Wicked a little early. Is it any good? Let's talk about it.
This wicked witch.
From John M. Chu, Wicked follows Elphaba and Glinda, who become friends in the land of Oz, but after they meet the wizard, their friendship reaches a crossroads. Before I start, I want to make this clear. I want to get this out of the way. I had no knowledge of Wicked before watching this movie. I'd never seen the Broadway musical, never read the book. I really know nothing about this story. I've just seen The Wizard of Oz, which is one of the most famous movies of all time, changed filmmaking forever. I think it's a masterpiece. I've seen Oz the Great and Powerful, which I have fun with that movie. It's just not a great movie. I think James Franco's pretty cool. The monkey's a pretty cool character. I just think it becomes a mess like halfway through. And, you know, for Wicked, my expectations were kind of mild to non-existent, only because, you know, the trailers were coming out. The Super Bowl trailer was first, and the first official trailer, I really wasn't moved. The needle wasn't moved for me. But when the second trailer came out, I was like, this looks kind of interesting. And then every single time I saw the second trailer in theaters, which was kind of a lot, I kept getting more and more excited. My expectations started to get higher and higher. But when I went into it, I still had mild expectations. But after coming out of the theater, my first thoughts were like, I think that this is one great spectacle of a movie and a true musical masterpiece. And as I keep thinking about it, I think that this is easily one of my favorite movie theater experiences of the year. It's, you know, it's still behind like Dune and Furiosa for like favorite movie theater experiences, because those are like different for me, especially because I'm a big sci-fi fan. But this is just one of my favorites because it's a ton of fun. You know, this is one of the most fun movies that you'll watch in a theater. It's a huge crowd pleasing kind of movie. My huge crowd was liking that. The early screening crowds are always kind of crazy, but a lot of people are clapping by the end of this. It's just so much fun, you know, even when it does get sad or gives you a lot of those emotions, because it is a whole journey of emotions and you're going through all these places. It still is just such a fun time in the movie theater, and that's basically what we're there to do, is to have fun. And this movie gives you a lot of fun. And it's only part one. Yeah, it's only part one, which is kind of funny. When the movie started, it showed the title card Wicked Part 1. And then my whole audience was like, what? Part 1? And I'm like, am I the only one that knew this was a part 1 going into it? I felt like I was the only one. It is a smart marketing strategy, though. And when Dune came out, they also did the same thing. They called it Dune, but if you saw the movie, it's called Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2. It's just to help get people to go to the theater knowing it's not a part 1, but when they come out, they're like, oh yeah, I want to watch part 2 now. And part 2 comes out next year, November 2025, basically like a year from now. And after, you know, finishing this movie in theaters, I wanted to dive straight into part 2, just because the ending, just, you're on this journey and then it gets darker and darker, more complex, and you're like, oh, please give me in a part 2, and then it just ends. You're like, oh man. The third act and like the last 15-20 minutes are easily my favorite parts of this movie, because that's where the movie has a big tonal shift, and, you know, character shifts, character relationships kind of change there, and it gets darker, and that means it gets more complex. And I'm in my seat loving that, because I love when movies like to explore the darker tones, get more complex, like to shift the tone, shift the relationships, and that's what this movie is doing. And I really am on board with that. I hope that you stick with that dark tone for the second movie. And just overall, just see this movie in theaters, man. This movie is truly built for theaters. And you're going to have a fantastic weekend if you do. You can either choose, you know, this or Gladiator 2. You can go see both of them if you want. It'll be a fun weekend in theaters. And we're already off to a great week, because Wicked is awesome. I had such a fun time with this movie. I think everyone should give John M. Chu a huge round of applause, because I don't think this film would have worked without him, because, you know, he is, you know, known for some decent musicals, some great musicals too, like In the Heights. He even directed Now You See Me Too, which I wasn't that big of a fan of, but it still was fun. But yeah, this movie wouldn't have worked without him and the whole crew that he had. You know, bringing, you know, something like this to life, this huge Broadway show to life in a movie form, is kind of crazy, and making it 3 hours is something unheard of these days, and pulling it off is pretty much non-existent. But he did it, and he did it so well, and I feel like he even has a better movie cooking up with part 2, because, as I said, how complex it gets at the end of this movie. But I kind of don't understand where they're going to go with part 2. If you're a huge Wicked fan, let me know some theories of where you think it's going to go. Because, you know, I looked up the ending of the Wicked musical and Broadway show after seeing this, and it kind of ends where this first movie ends, like a little bit, kind of in a different way. But it basically ends there. There's no more story there. The only story that we really have left in this would be showing the Wizard of Oz story at the same time. And I kind of hope that we do go there. You know, in the beginning, they kind of do show a little bit Wizard of Oz there. And because Glinda is kind of telling this story there. So it's interesting to see where they'll go, but I hope they do their own telling of the Wizard of Oz story mixed with the Wicked story. That would be really cool. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a darker story. I think it's going to be more complex, and I'm on board. Just give me to part 2 right now. I was completely blown away by the set design and costume design in the whole movie. As you know, they basically filmed this whole movie on location with practically built sets. Of course, there's some green screen, blue screen in there, but they wanted to do almost this whole movie practically. They even planted like over 9 million tulips. Why? I don't know, but it's still a cool fact. I mean, you know, I question how they planted that many tulips. Like, even if you had a lot of workers, that would still take a ton of time to plant 9 million tulips and 9 million flowers. But you do see them in the film, and it's really amazing. It's a sight to be seen. I saw a quote where John M. Chu was like talking to the studio heads. The studio heads were like, "Do you need to plant this many flowers?" And John M. Chu's like, "We already did it. It's too late." And I'm like, this guy already planted those flowers. How did he do it so fast? We'll never know. But each different place that we travel to in this film is extremely beautiful and very detailed and intricate. Shiz University is one place that we're at for a long time. When they said the university's name was Shiz, I was like, that's kind of a weird name, but I guess we'll have it. We'll let it work. Yeah, it's a huge place, very well built set. But I think it's the Emerald City that just took my breath away and just left me in awe the most. I loved all the green that was going on there. I thought that was pretty cool. The costumes are also very powerful and colorful throughout the whole film. So I can really recognize there was a lot of time spent on those, and they're all quite diverse, which is what we love to see. A little nitpick is that sometimes the cinematography is kind of diluted by some ugly color grading, but the sets and costume design make up for that, in my opinion. Since it's a musical, we have to talk about the music in this movie, and some musicals completely turn me off. Like, I either love or hate a musical, because if I go into a musical and I don't want to revisit the music after, then the music didn't really work for me. The musical as a whole didn't really work for me. But for Wicked, I definitely want to be adding some of these songs to my personal playlist. Some of my favorites were The Wizard and I. It's a great song from the beginning of the movie. Popular is, of course, a very popular song from this Broadway show, and Defying Gravity, which is probably the most popular song from this show. I thought that song I played at the end of the movie, like the last 15-minute sequence, was just truly just breathtaking. Took my breath away. So I'm very excited to revisit this music. This movie also wouldn't have worked without your star-studded cast, so we have to talk about them. Cynthia Erivo played Elphaba, and you know, she had some bad issues on the press tour for this one, but I think she made up for it with her fantastic performance here. She's just everything here. I don't think the movie would have worked without her, just like John M. Chu. She really just brought it all to this movie, showed so much emotion with her character. Like, there's just some scenes in here where I was just completely just taken aback by her character. One scene in particular takes place at a ball, and I'm like, damn, she really nailed it there. Of course, the ending with her will take your breath away too. Ariana Grande surprised me a lot. You know, I know she's a fantastic singer, fantastic actor in like a comedy sense from like Victoria, Sam and Cat. But her dramatic work here is also really well done as Glinda, or Galinda. You know, she changed her name throughout the movie. But yeah, I thought that she just delivered so much. Their chemistry, her and Cynthia, they're really just one in this movie. And it's kind of funny, there's kind of memes going around of them crying a lot in their interviews. And I understand now. It's probably a very hard process to film something like this. And you just get so close with each other, and it's very emotional movie, very emotional performances, very emotional relationship. So after seeing it, I get it now. Jonathan Bailey and Ethan Slater also are really great as the, kind of male leads here. I kind of wanted more of them, and I'm wondering if we're going to get a lot more of them in the part 2, because I really did like both their characters a lot. Peter Dinklage as, Animal in this movie is kind of funny. Michelle Yeoh also had a really cool performance here, kind of like a villainous performance in some aspects. But I think Jeff Goldblum was a performance I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did, but I thought he was really good as the true Wizard of Oz. He's got that spunk going on with him, and he's just hopping around being like, I'm the Wizard of Oz, even though I'm not a real wizard. And then by the end is like, he's really, doing such a great job. I really enjoyed him as the wizard, but the whole cast, I think, delivered so well. We can talk about some Oscar chances for a little bit. It's of course going to get nominated for Best Picture. If you would have asked me 2 months ago, I would have said, hell no, it's not getting nominated. But I can say when I'm wrong, and I was wrong after seeing it. I'm like, damn, this is a true like top 5, maybe top 3 Best Picture kind of movie here, because it is a true crowd pleaser, as I said. Best Supporting Actress, I think Ariana Grande will get in. Maybe she'll even win. I said Zoe Saldana will win, but after watching Emilia Perez, I'm like, I don't really care about that movie or the performance. Performance is good though, but I feel like if you want a performance to win for like acting performance, I feel like you gotta like the movie too. You gotta think the movie's good. Emilia Perez, I didn't really like the movie. This, I like the movie. I love her performance at the same time. So I think it's gonna be a fight between her and Felicity Jones for The Brutalist. So that'll be really cool. Cynthia Erivo for Best Actress is a maybe for me. She's kind of like in the 6th spot or 7th spot. It's kind of a little packed there, but it would be a really cool surprise, and I'd like it if she did get in. This, of course, going to get nominated for Tech Awards. You got probably editing. Sound too. The sound is really good in this one. See it in Dolby if you can. Costume design, set design, of course. VFX probably going to get in there for some other ones too. Not Best Original Song because none of these songs are original. I wish they did one original song. That would have been pretty interesting, but I guess they want to stick straight to that source material, so I can't blame them. But yeah, I think those are going to be the Oscar nominations that it will get. Maybe I'm missing some, but maybe I'm not. But I think that we'll get those and maybe even some wins. Overall, Wicked isn't just a spectacle. It's a true masterpiece of a musical. John M. Chu directed the hell out of this part 1, and the set and costume design will leave you in awe while you're having such a fun time listening to the music. Ariana Grande is not my front runner for supporting actress. She really did a great job, but it's Cynthia Erivo who is everything in this movie, but the both of them together just delivered such an amazing performance. I'm going to give Wicked a strong 8.5 out of 10. It's so much fun and a true crowd pleaser. If you did see Wicked or are going to go see Wicked, leave your thoughts down below in the comments. If you did enjoy my review, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. It's free to do so, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.